You're listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Anthony R. Destiny, Joe Ferrani, and Jerry Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Payday is the most important day to your most important people, and payday is made easy at www.payyourpeople.com.
Alrighty, we're here with another episode of Between Two Bridges. I'm your co-host, Anthony R. Destiny.
Joseph Ferranti.
Jerry Kenna.
And the man of the hour, I guess the name's synonymous with Oakmont. You want to give us the elevator speech?
Greg Saxon.
What do you do for a living, Greg?
What do I do for a living? It's a good question. I'm retired.
Okay.
But after retirement, I spent a couple of weeks at home at the kitchen table watching my wife work and just staring at her beauty every day. And she said, you got to get out of here. So I decided to look for another business to get involved in. And with my son-in-law, they do welding work, specialty welding work on tractor trailer axles.
Yeah.
And I rode shotgun with him on a couple of his applications and thought it was a good match for me to go ahead and try to use that technology and expand it into another state that they're not presently in. So I figured out which state would be the easiest to get to that's available, and that was the state of Virginia. So I started cold turkey with nothing, no experience or anything. Went out, made sales calls with my daughter Gina to help me get started, and established a website, made a customer list, expanded that customer list to as far as targets go. And before you know it, we started doing axle jobs. And last year we did 64 axle jobs, and this year we're on our way to do over 100 probably.
Nice.
So it's going well. It's a part-time gig, but it keeps me busy. So that's what I'm presently doing. And the goal would be to find somebody to take over the license in the next year or two down there, and then be available to help with Liberty Welding and other ways in the future.
So is the plan to sell that license and let somebody else run that area yourself, or would you maintain ownership and just have somebody that was out doing the running?
I would do maybe a hybrid where they actually own the license. They take over the license that I had paid for, and they have to comply by the license by buying the materials and everything and paying a royalty to Liberty Welding on an annual basis. So I would possibly sell the license to them, and if they couldn't meet my requirements for funding, then I would put some kind of retainer on there that would pay into the
royalty
future
or some sort.
Right. And then it still would be the same benefit to Liberty Welding as me being a licensee right now as well. So it helps to expand their business and keeps me busy.
Yeah.
I enjoy challenges, and you can't get up in the morning without having a purpose. I don't know if anybody's ever had that feeling, but it's a really weird feeling after having purpose for 40 years.
Yeah, I get that a lot dealing with tax clients that come in the first year after retirement. And sometimes people are like, it's great. I don't know what day it is, and I don't care. It's every day I'm on vacation. But there's other people that I can see like that are lost.
Oh yeah.
Don't know what to do. Just like, I don't like this. I'm going to go try to find something to do because I can't sit at home. I just feel lost.
Oh, Jerry, there's times where I'll go for 1 or 2 weeks without having a call from a customer, and I start to think, what did I do wrong? So I jump in the car and I drive to Virginia, and I go to every customer and make sure that I'm still on their list. And they say, yeah, you're our guy. I said, well, my ribs are starting to show, so I need some work. But it's an odd feeling when you feel that you're not needed out there. And when you are needed, it's exciting. Even if you're not making boatloads of money, you're helping people.
Yeah, we talked about that in other podcasts where, especially like Joe's manufacturing company, that a lot of his customers buy in like volume, but only occasionally. So sometimes sales are slow, and you're like, well, I guess I'm done. I guess the business is done.
Yeah. we went through that. We went like 11 days without an order.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, man, did this bottom just fall out of this thing, And then boom, 100 case order, 4 skids are going out the door on Tuesday. I'm like, we're back in business, So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's like, it takes me back to a story that my mother used to tell when my father first started the Conco business. He worked for a local screw machine shop here in Oakmont. That's what brought us to Oakmont when I was 6 years old. And he was a general manager, and there was a strike, and corporate office said, you need to settle this strike, George. And he said, if I settle that strike for what they want, you might as well close these doors because we're going to go out of business. They said, that's fine. We'll settle the strike. You can leave. And they let him go. They settled the strike, and they closed the doors several months later. So the labor relations attorney that my father had working for him to help him through the strike said to my dad, hey, I got just a great opportunity for you with this little business in the west end of Pittsburgh. And he introduced my father to the owner, a little old lady that owned Conco. She was making parts by herself with her brother-in-law and selling them to power plants. And my dad said it's a perfect business for him. He's got an engineering background. So he buys the business. He finds 2 partners to find the last $3,000 to get the business going. Takes over the business, and he's laying there in bed after the first several months, and there's no orders coming in. And he's laying in bed tossing and turning in the morning, and he says to my mother, do you think that old lady shafted me? And my mother said, no, this is what you wanted. You better go out and make it work. He got up that morning, got his briefcase, packed a bag, and went on the road selling. And you're right. You got to go out and get it. It's how it works.
So we on a previous episode, we were talking about how like in Oakmont, everybody went to Edgewater to work back in the day. Like you knew you were either going to college or you were going to Edgewater.
Right.
And then in our generation, it was kind of like Edgewater was gone, but you either went to college or you went to work at Conco.
Yeah, it was the 13th grade. It's made a lot of people into men. You get to travel in those jobs when you did go to Conco at age 18 or higher. You worked in the field in power plants and around the world. And a lot of people I took to the airport who were getting on an airplane after living in Verona their whole life for Oakmont, never been out of Pennsylvania. And you got to take them in and show them where the counter is and where to get the ticket and how to get to the plane. And after that, they travel and see the country. And a lot of people end up moving out to places like Scottsdale, Arizona, places like that they never knew existed.
Yeah,
so, it's
cool.
cool.
Very cool.
It's one of the nice benefits of being part of Conco is to know that you helped a lot of people expand and launch into manhood, I guess.
Yeah. There's some characters that I know that come out the other side a lot better people for that experience.
Well, sometimes it would be, because I consider it you need to be a real, like a freedom-oriented person, a person that's almost uncontrollable in their personal life unless they have something like that. Meaning your options are to go to work, travel, and with Conco, somebody gets you out of bed every morning and you go to the job. Otherwise, that person might end up in jail somewhere because they're making their own decisions. But until they get to that maturity level where they can handle their own responsibilities. So it's a good thing.
I went and did a job, not for Conco, but for a guy, I guess, that started at Conco, Projectile Tube.
Yeah.
And he's another Oakmont guy, I think. But Ralphie Bauman recruited me to go on a job, and I did it one time. I pushed those cleaners in and shot them through with a gun, and I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of small spaces. I'm afraid of Ralphie Bauman. I was like, none of this is what I need to be doing right now.
Oh, yeah. It's a bring you to Jesus kind of job, that's for sure. And you realize you're in a big facility like that, and you go out to the van to get a tool or something, and you look up at the big stacks and the big water towers, cooling towers, and you realize if I drop dead right here, right now, this place is still going to run the rest of the day. They're not going to shut it down and say, "Oh my God!" So, yeah, it's an awesome feeling, and it's an overwhelming type of job.
Yeah.
So he goes out trying to make the sales calls. At what point did Conco turn because Conco became from a $3,000 startup where purchases business.
No, it was more than 3,000, but I mean, that
yeah.
was his partner's participation.
Yeah, to what he.
Yeah, well, he started out there, and I remember, what year was it when Roberto Clemente died? I think it was 1972.
Sounds about right.
New Year's Eve or whatever.
Yeah.
We needed some orders, I guess, and I was 8 years old at the time, and my father and mother promised us a nice trip for Christmas where we would go to Disney World, and oh, that's great. So the day after Christmas, all of us, my mother and father and 4 kids, piled into the back, or it was a Buick LeSabre, dark blue. When he finally got rid of it, it only went in reverse. But we drove all the way to Florida. It took us 3 days to get there. We stopped at every power plant on the way and made sales calls. And then on the way, we spent 24 hours, I think it was, maybe 36 hours in Disney World, turned around and came back and did the same thing on the way back for the plants that we didn't call on the way down there. And my father brought back some orders from that trip, and he went to, I believe, Allegheny Valley Bank and used those for some collateral to help expand the business for the next couple months. And from there, we sold only the tools at that time. We were just a manufacturer. And then they had 4 or 5 people in the shop. We used to make the assemblies of the cleaners on our front porch with the whole neighborhood kids. You'd make 50 cents a box, and it'd take you 2 hours to fill a box. And,
Oh, wow.
And Gina was bitching about making $5 an hour.
Yeah. But then, like in the late 70s, early 80s, when we got into actually applying our tools in the field at power plants where we had service crews, that's where we started to expand more greatly. And my father wasn't so sure about the service business, but my brother Ed was, and it worked out. We established what the new bar was in field service work. At that time, a lot of power plants had their own maintenance crews and everything like that would do all that work. But at that time, you started seeing people try to shrink their workforce and get away with hiring contractors versus doing the work in-house. And that's where it started to grow. And then whenever I came out of college, I was the last one to enter into the business. And I think we had maybe 30 employees or something at that time. And then when my father retired at age 60, we had like 45 employees, and he left it all to us to grow the business how we saw fit. He put us each in our own special category as far as what he thought we were best at. He was very successful at doing that because I think he was right. And then from there, from the time he retired till the time we ended up selling the majority of our stake in the company, there was probably 300 some employees. So, and we had offices in 3 or 4 places around the world and did business through my brother George's international efforts in probably 40 or 50 different countries. So it expanded with the service business was what helped it.
So second generation expanded the business from what it was to 3 or 4 times what it was.
10 times
10
or better. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not common. A lot of times you see second generation whenever the kids take over. So what made it, was it because he put you in the right positions to keep it going? Because
I think
kids ruin everything.
I think, my father was a great man. He was overwhelming as far as a presence, and you wanted to please him. And he was always one to pat you on the back when you did a good job. And he was always one to, little boot you in the ass when you're screwing up. And he took pride in watching his children grow the business. He knew who was going to be good for what part of the business. Somehow, some way, he knew it was the right match. And if you have children, you know what your kids are capable of. And he knew we weren't all capable to do each of the roles, but our special roles, yes. And from there, he sat back. When he retired, he had open heart surgery at age 60. And he thought that was a good time to turn over the business to us. And then he got better in about 2 or 3 months and said he's ready to come back to work. And I think we pretty much said, no, there's no need for you to come back to work. And he said, well, as long as you guys send my paycheck, I'll stay home. And we sent his paycheck, I think, until the day he died. So at 80 years old, that was 20 some years of retirement.
Did he have a hard time staying away?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He would stick his nose in and everything, but it was good. And we all worked, you had 4 siblings that all worked in the business, and we worked as a common goal under the appreciation of my father. So you remove my father from that picture, and the dynamics kind of changed then over the next 8 years, 7, 8 years. And that's where you start to wonder, is this really what I want to do? And things like that. So
it's funny. Every family has that person, and then when they're gone, you see it. Like, I wouldn't think about not celebrating the Thanksgiving with the Ferrani family.
Yeah.
But once my grandmother passed away, it's over. She's the reason we got together. It was the reason everything worked. And then as soon as one person's gone, it's over. The traditions stop.
Yeah.
Unique.
Yeah. Well, we still, as siblings, we're still very close. We still talk often and get together, and we have a great time together when we do. But it's nice to, you have the pressure gauge turned up as high as you possibly can when you're growing a business. And to sustain that over 35, 40 years, it can be challenging. There's times where you just want to breathe and relax, but you got a lot of pressure on you, a lot of people counting on you, a lot of families counting on you to make the right decisions. That's the hard part, to keep that going. So eventually you get tired of that.
That's an angle a lot of people that see business owners don't understand. Like, I remember one of my employees when they first bought a house. I remember the pressure it put on me. I was like, this can't fail now. Because I'm on my feet and I'm on my ass. But everybody else is on their ass too if I fail. So it puts a whole level of pressure on you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can't afford to buy a house. Like, this guy's buying a house and I got to pay for it. But you got to get up and go. Like, you got to have purpose.
Yeah,
like you said. Well,
in our case, we had 300 families that depended on Conco making the right decisions and Conco being there tomorrow. So those were pressures that were there. They were recognized on a daily basis by all of us, and we did everything we can. I believe gave everybody every opportunity that did work for Conco to achieve whatever they could within the organization.
So 4 siblings working in the office every day. We work with family. What kind of hurdles and obstacles was that? Was it ups and downs?
Oh yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
That's fine though. It's the same way. I still say that today, any disagreements or whatever and everything, you can take back to our childhood that were the same ones that existed then. It's no different. It's the birth order. It's
Are you the oldest, youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
I'm the youngest. So my role has always been to keep everybody talking, because each personality is very strong above me, and sometimes when there's a disagreement there, the best way to fix it is to jump in and be the middleman. Somehow navigate everybody through it so that we're still talking on the other side. But no, it's difficult. You're going to have aunts and uncles and cousins and nephews, and some of them aren't going to make it. You're going to have best friends. Almost every one of my friends worked at Conco at one time or another. And I always told them, this is going to end one day, and I hope we can still be friends, whether it's you that ends it or us that ends it. And it's always paid off and come through. I don't think there's anybody out there that I've worked with that I don't feel comfortable seeing on the street or seeing at the Giant Eagle or whatever and saying hello. Even those that had done us wrong, I believe, I love everybody. That's one thing. Even my enemies, and I don't hate people that have done things bad to us. I hate what they've done, but I consider what they've done as something that I can learn from. And there's no value you can place on those lessons that are learned from those types of situations. So business is business and life is another thing. So don't let it get to you.
Yeah, that's good advice there, because some people take it so personal.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah. You can't. We go to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or whatever, and all those things go away and it's family.
Were there ever any family get-togethers right after a big disagreement at the office that was a little awkward Thanksgiving dinner?
No, never.
Never threw a turkey leg at your brother or anything like that?
Never. No punches have ever been thrown.
That's good.
My father's had to separate a couple of times whenever we were younger, but no, I think, no, it's family. Everybody knows families first, you know.
I've always felt that way with clients too. Like with my business, like I don't have everybody's business, but like I used to at the beginning, I'm like, this person doesn't use me. This is bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
But now it's like everybody's free to do what they want. And I don't really care. It's not make or break me, but you know, it's just a good policy to like just people are people. The interaction's important, not the business. The business will come, you know?
Yeah.
So you have kids, obviously, and all your siblings have kids. So now there's third generation that got involved. Was it always, I know that a lot of the Saxon family all went through Conco. Was it always just kind of the path that was expected, or your kids didn't really get as involved with Conco, or they did for a little bit and then all kind of did their own thing?
No, it's like, for instance, whenever I got involved in a business, I graduated from Robert Morris College, which is now Robert Morris University. So we finally achieved that.
Yeah.
I graduated with a marketing degree, you know, and my father took me to lunch at Hofstadt's, and we sat there and had lunch, and he says, "So what are you going to do with yourself now that you're graduating?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna get a job in marketing somewhere, and you know, make those storyboards and maybe make a design for the storefront." And that's great. He says, "I'd like you to come to work for us for the business in manufacturing until you figure out what you want to do there. You know, no sense in not working while you're looking." I said, "Well, that's fine." He put on a piece of paper like my salary would be on day one. I'm like, "Whoa, wow," you know. Probably nothing, but I think it was like $30,000 or something back then. And I said, "Yeah, I'll go there until I find what I'm looking for." I never looked, and I stayed. And so it was a different time where parents wanted to encourage the development of their children in what they thought was best for them versus what the individuals felt was best for them. So today's generation, my kids, when they came to work at Conco, most of it was to make some money for the summer or what have you, more so than career-oriented. And I never wanted to push them into the business because I wanted it to be their decision. And I thought that, you know, the family business can only handle so many in the next generation. There's 14 grandchildren at that level, and from my mother, and I just thought that, well, we have trouble from time to time with 4 siblings in there. I can imagine if 14. Now I have to deal with my brother's children, he has to deal with my children, and my sister has to deal with our children. So those complications, I didn't want to encourage it. I didn't not encourage it either, but I mean, I just didn't want it to be. And my kids all found their own way, and it worked out well. And I think most of them, there's one from Gunner's family and one from my sister's family that are, I think, career-oriented in the business. And then there's a couple that are there to do just help provide for their household and do just regular clerkish type jobs and stuff like that.
Do you think your dad would have been mad if you would have moved on to a different thing?
No, he would have, I'm sure he would have been happy, whatever. He was that kind of guy, but he wanted to make sure that I got moving rather than sitting around. Like your generation, which is my children, we let them sit stagnant for a year or so after college. And well, I guess it's a good thing, but mine have all finally launched, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always good. And I remember when I was in college, you know, if a friend was like, well, I'm going to take a year off, it was like, what? Your life's over. What do you mean you're going to take a year off? You can't take a year off. Then what's going to happen? You're going to be a cashier at the grocery store the rest of your life. You can't take that off. But now it's looked at differently.
Yeah.
Like, you know, okay, take a year and find yourself, figure out what you want to be. And I don't know, maybe I think in some respects that's a good thing. I think that I think it, like when I went into college, I went in for political science, and I learned after, I don't know, $50,000 in 2.5 years that, well, this sucks. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. Maybe a year off would have paid off.
Well, let me tell you this one little story about when you talk about encouraging others to come into the business. When I was in college and my wife and I were engaged, and she was graduating, she went out and applied for jobs, and she got an offer for a sales job in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, for a trucking company by the name of Ryder PIE. I don't know if you remember them when they existed back in the day, but she got a job offer for sales for like $42,000 a year. She came to the house and told my father, and my father said, that's bullshit. Why don't you just come to work for us on Monday? I'll put you in sales, in the inside sales office. So my father had a little, he was persuasive, and she said, okay, I guess that's what I'm going to be doing. So she went to work on Monday. My dad got her started in inside sales and everything, and she got her first paycheck, and he was paying her $6.75 an hour.
He didn't even match the offer.
and I remember I had to bring it up to his attention, and with Janny with me, I think it was, and I can't remember exactly, but I think he said to her, "Don't worry, sweetheart, it'll come around. Don't worry." And
it did.
She's still there today, actually. Yeah. She's still working at Colossal.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. She does works for the accounting department, and she does a great job. She is very, how do you say it, intuitive on her work and what she's doing to make sure it's done right, and she does a good job.
She still run?
She runs from time to time. Yeah. She's either
growing up, I just remember like always seeing her running around Oakmont.
Yeah, she either runs or she does the bike or yoga or whatever the exercises are. And every day she's doing something. Her and all the girls do. I mean, my son, they're all physically active as far as that goes.
So you got involved in banking as a side gig.
Yeah.
You were at one point chairman of the board for Allegheny Valley Bank. Are you still involved now that it's with Dollar? Because it's filled in.
No. We ended up we merged from Allegheny Valley Bank. We had discussions when you're on a board of directors of a public company like that. One of your obligations is to review what's best for the shareholders on an annual or every other year basis. Is it best that we stay independent? Is it best that we sell? Is it best that we merge? What is best? Then you do a study and you review each of those opportunities and compare them. And whatever is best for the shareholders within reason is what you should probably do. And at one time we had a merger of equals with Standard Bank, and that worked out well for the shareholders. And then after a couple years, the boards merged together. They had, I believe it was 6 board members from Allegheny Valley Bank versus 7 from Standard Bank. So they had the last say in everything. We didn't always agree with the direction we were going there, but anyhow, it ended up in selling to Dollar Bank. And Dollar Bank is not a stock bank. It's right. What do they call those? Mutual. Yeah. So they run by different roles. They don't have to please shareholders. But they're also, Jim, the guy that's running Dollar Bank, is a super guy. He really believes in the community banking philosophy, and he believes in his employees, and that they are the ones that make the difference between the competition. So,
what got you involved in that? What made you decide?
I was at Conco, and my uncle was on the board of the Allegheny Valley Bank, and he called me one day and said that they'd like to interview you to be on the board here at Allegheny Valley Bank. And I go, well, I don't know anything about banking. And he goes, exactly. He says, that's what is needed. You know about running a business. You know about working with a board of directors, because Conco had a board of directors, and you have these things that you can bring. And I'm not so sure. And he says, let's go. We got to go on some interviews. And I met the chairman. I met the other directors as well. And came out that they invited me to be on the board of directors, and I went on board. I was there with there was like 3 or 4 attorneys. There was a couple of accountants, and I was really the only person that had interaction where I had an employee force of comparable to the bank of 200 and some employees, and of which they didn't all report to me, but I had interaction, and I had a good part of them people report to me.
You had experience in that dealing with
so
that.
That's how it worked out. And in the first 3 or 4 years, chairman died, chairman died, and next thing you know, I'm the next reasonable guy that can fit that role who has experience with leadership. And they put me in as chairman in, I think it was 2005, something like that, 2004. And stayed there till 2017 when we sold, I believe. So.
There's 2 ways out: sell or die.
So. Yeah, but it was a good run. It was my uncle. I love my uncle dearly. He was a good friend, and he brought me in, and he thought it was a good match, and I was a good match, I believe, and I think we did okay. And it was good for the shareholders. I was a shareholder as well, and it benefited from that very, very much so.
Now, do you sit on any other boards?
No. Whenever we left, when we went to Dollar, they had established an advisory board that you sat on for, it was a set 2-year time period, 8 meetings, cookies and coffee. And, you helped to make them aware of what's going on in your community so that you can help their sales force target and go after certain clients, et cetera, to help. And it worked out well, but that thing kind of fizzles out. And some of the directors that were on that gig were just there to be there. And Jim realized that at Dollar Bank. He said, anybody have anything else to add? If not, this will be the last meeting. And that's how it went. Also, when I was at Allegheny Valley Bank, we had a really good president, CEO that we brought on board, Andrew Hazley, who's still at Dollar Bank. But he was an excellent leader of his people. He was just a very level-headed businessman, and he knew his banking very well. And it was nice to have him on board. And the board of directors, our job, I believe, was to make sure there was some hurdles there for him that, to be accountable to the board of directors and the shareholders, but not to put hurdles out there that were just hurdles to make it difficult for a man to run a business. So
right.
Andrew did a great job, as well as everybody else that I worked with in those institutions.
What do you say about a community bank? And I'm kind of learning this now because we're trying to do some things. And I bank with PNC forever. Mm-hmm. And it's there's such a different feel when you get to the smaller banks. It's they want to do business with business. Where these big banks, they could care less about you. So it's kind of unique to the smaller banks.
Oh yeah. There's supposed to be, every year there's more and more regulations that makes it more difficult to be a special bank like that. Where hey, I understand your needs. I understand why a conventional bank won't work. I'm interested in helping you. If I do that, I have to hold the loan. I can't sell the loan because it's a non-conforming loan. Those kind of things. So they get after 2008, a lot of those. The freelance type of banking kind of got pushed aside. But you're right. A community bank really does want your business. They want to be able to help the community, and they have an obligation to also help the community in areas of need and make sure that they're serving the community, not just taking the money out of the community and serving somewhere else.
Would you get back into banking?
No.
You're done?
No, I'm done, unless I can start my own bank, but I don't think I have enough participating friends to do that. But no, I wouldn't get back into banking. I enjoyed it. It was good for my career. But I enjoy now just enjoying my family more, enjoying my time with my wife, my time with my siblings and my mother and my children. Those things are all important today, not as much as the rat race. And you go through everything, and you get that nice car, and you have that for so many years, and you realize those rewards are nice, but they're not satisfying. And the satisfying rewards are your time with family, by far.
That's one of the things we've talked about off the show, we're obviously starting families. I guess, could you take us back to those early days? Obviously your wife and you go into the business. So how did you mix kids into the equation early on?
Oh, wow.
So,
Well,
you're working a lot.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some interferences over the years that I might have lost some of that memory. No, but we got married. We were high school sweethearts. She went to Penn Hills. I went to Riverview. And of course, the Penn Hills girls came over here to find good men over in Oakmont. And we met. My sister-in-law, or now present, or her sister-in-law, Becky Emanuel, who was Becky Brzezinski, I believe it was, cut hair, and she cut my hair, and she
Pat
also,
on the head.
pat on the head.
Yeah.
It was back then. It was Hairmetrics she was working at. That's how long ago this was, and I said my birthday's on Friday, and she, if you know Becky, she's like, "Get out of here, really." And he says, "My sister-in-law's birthday's on Friday." I says, "Well, that's great. That's great. I'm going to be 17 or 18. I can't exactly remember." And she says, "So is she." I said, "Well, that's great." So right away, Becky thought, let's fix these two up. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Didn't have any girlfriend at the time or anything like that anyhow. So, but nothing ever came of that. But I did, I was sitting on a porch with my father in some summertime, and there's carload of girls pull up in front of my house. It's my wife, Janie, and her girlfriend, and they say, "Hey, can you come here?" And I went down to the street and looking for directions to John Liberto's house. And I said, "Well, he lives up the block. You go up there, turn left on Holton Road, turn right on Wade, and he's on the right-hand side." Okay. And I walked away, and I get on the porch, and they pull away. I sit back down on the porch with my father, and he put the newspaper down and looked at me, and he said, "Son, are you an idiot?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Those girls were here for you." And I said, "No, they weren't here. They're looking for John Liberto." He says, "Which way did you tell them to turn?" I said, "Turn left." He said, "They turned right and screamed." They didn't, I said, "Oh, God." So anyhow, to make a long story short, we saw each other on traffic throughout the next summer, and I met her. I went to the library for the first time in my life to get a book for English class, and my wife, Janie, was sitting there, and I went over and asked her on a date. And after that, it was the greatest blessing ever with that woman. She's a good girl.
So you said your wife was related to Becky?
Yeah, her brother is married to Becky.
Yeah, I'm somehow related to the Emanuels and the Brzezinskis.
Ooh, I wouldn't announce that.
Yeah, right. I think it goes back to I think it goes back to the Briccata. Yeah, my great grandmother was a Briccata.
Briccata.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like everybody in this town is
Related to the
somehow an Emmanuel, a Briccata, or a Brzezinski.
Right. Because you're related to the Briccatas.
Well, my cousin married a Briccata.
Okay, Jay's your cousin.
Jay's my cousin.
Yeah. And Jay worked at Conca for years.
He did.
Jason Master Accessory. Yeah, and Jason was a great guy. He's still a very good guy.
Yeah.
I text him every now and then. We touch base.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
Hard worker.
Yeah, for sure.
I can remember when him and Amy just started dating. I was like a baby.
So after then we ended up getting married, fresh out of college.
Where was the honeymoon?
Yeah, you had to ask that. What's that island? Bermuda. We went to Bermuda for our honeymoon, and then we came back, and we agreed we're going to have kids in about 10 years or so, and I didn't realize that the woman can change her mind on that, and we ended up having children right away. So Natalie was our first, and then we had Gina, and then Sarah, and Gregory. And at that time, we lived on 5th Street with Gina and Natalie. And then when we had Sarah, she was still on 5th Street, I believe. And then Gregory came when we moved to Oak Street. We needed more space, and it all worked out well. But, each child has their own personality, and you have to let them nurture it. And my wife is an excellent mother. And it was a place where the neighborhood kids would come to hang out as well when we got up there on Oak Street. It was just a comfortable place. We always believed in accepting whatever comes from our children and not having them feel they ever need to keep a secret. you feel, I think that, you love your children and you give them the opportunity to be free to talk to you about anything. And I think that helps help them turn out to be good children, where they knew that their parents, whether we agreed with what they were trying to do or not, we were aware of it. And if they had problems, they could always come and talk to us. It was not like there was a hurdle they had to get over. And my wife was very good at creating that environment. So, and I think we still have that environment today. There's some weird shit kids come to you with. They're like, yeah.
We think we're going to live in the bed of a truck.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if that's what you really want to do, sweetheart, then that's good. You live in the bed of a truck, rent your house out, do whatever is right for you,
But whatever you did at work,
But I think they're beautiful children. They have beautiful friends, and we embrace everybody and everything related to them. And again, it's a blessing. I'm thankful every day to my faith to have healthy family and happy family. So,
how did you mix, business and the family life? Sure, there were late nights.
There was.
Did your wife stay home with your children early on, or how
yeah,
that work?
she worked for Conco, and then when we had children, she stayed at home with the children, and then when they were old enough to pretty much fend for themselves, she came back to work at Conco and. Did whatever job needed to be done at the time that she could do from home mostly. So that worked out well. You hear about, everybody's nowadays, you have a child and the father ends up joining in that maternity leave and staying home to help and everything like that. Day one, my mother-in-law moved in. Day two, I had to go out of town for business, usually after a child came home. So, we had very good support there. I was very unfair, I'm sure, over those years in putting the business first to travel with 4 little children at home. But I realized that my obligation was to make sure I can provide. And there was times where I didn't want to go, and there was times where I couldn't wait to get in the car and go. But
I've said that to my wife on weekends, like during non-tax season, whenever I'm not working on weekends, the kids will be, in rare form, it's like chaos at the house. And I'm like, man, it would be easier for me to just go to work. Like, I don't know how you deal with this every day.
Oh, they're angels. I'll tell you how they can do that. Yeah. My wife, she did a great job. I'm sure your wife does the same. And
we talk about that a lot, about how to own a business and operate a business, with a family, it's nearly impossible unless you have a wife that is 100% on board and supportive of that business, because, we're here on a Sunday and, our wives are at home with kids. And this time of year for me, particularly, I work every single day, and I don't know. My wife worked, she was a teacher. And then whenever my second was born, we decided that she was going to stay home. And at the beginning, it was terrifying, because how am I going to make enough money to support this family? And we had just bought this house, and how am I going to pay all these bills? She's not going to have any income. And oh my God, we need health insurance and all this stuff. But now looking back, I don't know how families do it with parents that both work. And how do you, there's a snow day. Well, who watches the kids?
Yeah, I don't know
how do you, some of these schools have half-day kindergarten. How do you pick up your kid at half-day kindergarten?
Yeah.
I laugh when my daughter's school calls me. I'm like, what are you doing?
You called the dad.
You're calling dad. Like that TikTok. I'm like, where are you located?
What's the name of the school?
Give me the address. I'll come pick her up.
We couldn't do it without our wives.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
They don't listen to this anyway, so you can say whatever you want.
Well, also if you stop and think about, you can't, in what you're doing right now, Jerry, you can't stop and just think what I need to do to provide. You just need to plow on. You drive on, and if you do everything right and you do it honestly and with integrity and always try to do your best for your clients, they'll see that and they'll give you more work and more work and more work, and next thing you know, you're providing without needing to worry about it. Because worrying about it doesn't really help it at all. No, you're right. It doesn't.
We had a friend that when he had his first kid, he was like plumbing, and he said, it's amazing. Like, no one trusted me before I had a kid. And then he had his first kid, and he's like, all these side jobs just keep coming in. He's like, I'm too busy to even like maintain now. But it's something about having a kid that people like your clients will like Yeah, they like pick up on that.
Yeah, it's either that or wear glasses. I mean, either way, they'll think you're smarter, right?
Is that a sales trick? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your display of your image is everything, you know,
Right.
and if your background. I mean, one of the things that I pride myself on. One of the guiding things I have, one is my faith, but two is I find that your character is everything in this world. And whatever you are, if you're a barber or if you're a plumber or electrician or if you're a businessman, that character is everything. Your integrity, you only have one chance to get that right. You have to be able to look people in the eye. If you get caught in any kind of lie or misleading information, even if it's lighthearted or it's to help the sale, and that person finds out he wasn't telling the truth, you can't get that back. And that integrity, I'm the kind of guy that if, say, I walk out of the store and I find out, I get in the car and I'm driving down the road, I find out I got $5 extra change. I turn around and go give the $5 back. I mean, I'm just that, I can't live with myself knowing if I did something that was wrong like it. That would affect my integrity.
Yeah, and karma is a bitch too.
Yeah, karma, oh boy, it comes back. Every time I have dealings with some customers, and some of them are less than desirable.
Special.
And they kind of like, screw you. They don't, okay, well, we don't need you today. Or like, I travel all the way there and do it. And I say just, to myself, okay, I hope you're good with that decision because karma's a real bitch. It'll come back and bite you in the ass. But to me, that's everything in running a business and in whatever career you have. Having a child, it kind of makes sure you have better integrity because you realize you have to provide for that child now too, Yeah,
there's hard conversations in business. Like I'm sure over the years you've had jobs go bad and it's like, how are you going to explain this one off? But then I've learned now it's just easier to pull the Band-Aid off and be like, especially like if I ruin a blouse or something, I just call the customer like, we fucked it up. Yeah. Like I'm going to buy you a new one. Yeah. I'm sorry. But before I'd be like, it's on its way. It's almost done, trying to push the buck down the road. Now I'm like, yeah, we screwed up. It is what it is.
Yeah. I learned when I first started, there was, you mess up and it's not funny, but it's almost funny because it seems like that one time when you mess up, it's always like, man, I fucked this up bad. Like everything could go wrong. It took too long. This mistake happened, whatever. Like one time, it's just like, man, but it's easier to just fall on the sword. Be like, what, listen, we screwed up. This isn't how we do things, but it happens. So here's what we're going to do to fix it. But, trying to come up with stories and, it's just too hard. It's too hard to, and I have clients that we've messed up and they've been with me for 10 years since then because just coming out and being like, hey, we screwed up and here's how we're going to make it right. Yeah. They respect that more than the bullshit lie.
Yeah. Well, one of my roles at Conco was to go on troubled jobs and large jobs. I mean, $1 million jobs. And it's very enlightening to go into a plant manager's office and explain to him the difficulties you're having with the job that he anticipated was going to be done in 5 days, might take 10, where it's $1 million a day for them to be shut down and things like that. And that's where I was always thankful to have my siblings in my back pocket as far as support goes. My brothers, my sister were always there. And I knew that when I was talking to that customer, their plant manager, or even if you're in the outage control center at a nuclear power plant, that you speak on behalf of everybody and you don't want to, be dishonest. You have to be honest and you have to say, this is what's really going to happen. And most people expect or accept that much better than having to weasel yourself out of a bad situation.
Yeah, I think a big part of what we do on those situations, you have to be good at diffusing a situation. Because a lot of times like that plant manager he's going to be up here when you walk in there because there's a problem and you have to just be able to calm him down, control the situation and be like, okay, here's what we're going to do to fix it.
Well, what's really funny about that situation when you're in it and, you're actually I have coveralls and a hard hat on while I'm there. And you walk into that guy's office and he's thinking, boy, are you in trouble? Wait till I talk to your boss. And he realizes that I'm my own boss. And that's so it's a come to Jesus moment for them. That, okay, there is nobody to call. It's me. What do you want to do to make this right? And we make it right,
Yeah, that's my favorite when people are like, I want to talk to the manager. Like, I'm him. I want to talk to the guy that cleaned the clothes. I'm like, you're still looking at him. Who the fuck pressed it? Yep, still me. So if you're going to be mad at someone, here I am.
It's just me. And even if it was somebody else, like, it's
you got to take
part
it.
of the other thing about owning a business is no matter, we've got 8 people working for the accounting firm now, and any mistake that any of them make, my fault. It's not their fault.
Absolutely.
The buck stops with me. So I have to, hey, listen, it's my fault.
Yeah, the higher up the ladder you go, the more your ass sticks out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it when they forget to invoice you, though. That's really nice.
We always catch up. So what advice would you give to somebody starting out a business, trying to grow, getting started?
And now a brief word from our sponsor.
This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Are you tired of spending countless hours juggling payroll calculations, tax filings, and compliance regulations? Well, say goodbye to that chore and let Paymark Payroll take the burden off your shoulders. With our secure online portal, you can access your business information from any internet location, even your phone. Employees will love the ability to receive direct deposits, and they can access all their pay stubs, tax forms, and information through their own portal. Focus on growing your business while we take care of the rest. With top-notch customer support, we're always here to assist you with anything, at any time. Don't let payroll stress hold you back. Choose Paymark Payroll and experience the freedom to thrive. Contact us at payyourpeople.com for a personalized consultation and a demonstration of our powerful payroll solutions, and see how Paymark Payroll can better your workflow. That's payyourpeople.com. Join the growing list of satisfied businesses that have embraced the convenience and efficiency of Paymark. Payday made easy. Your business deserves nothing less than the best, and that's exactly what Paymark Payroll delivers. Now back to the show.
So what advice would you give to somebody starting out a business, trying to grow, getting started?
Encouragement. I would say that's a great idea. You have passion. You got to have passion for what you want to do. So if you have a desire to get involved in a business you don't know anything about, you don't have any drive behind it or thrill, I'd say no. But if it's something you have passion for, whether it's cleaning clothes or welding or whatever, just if you're going to do it, don't look back. Put a business plan together that is going to be worthless after the first week. Be willing to change direction. Have the grace to have humility and be disappointed in some of your results. Just keep driving on. And, if you believe in yourself and you apply yourself and you get out of bed every day, and there's nobody to blame when you're in that situation except yourself. And you just go drive on, have at it, change your plan. If you're not getting results, change your plan again. If you're spending too much money, reduce your expenses. I just recently found out that my wife doesn't think it's a very big goal, but I had achievement that I had 68,000 Wyndham points. And Wyndham hotels are Days Inns and the lower tier hotels. And for her to use those points for a hotel in the area, she'd like to stay. I think that was enough for a one-night stay. But I used them in the last 2 months, so I think I got 6 or 7 free nights stay. So that was good.
Yeah. So you said the word encouragement, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody that we were talking about, and it kind of this is kind of out of order because we were talking about kids and them going their own direction, but I think it's the same thing. And I see a lot of times where people will have a business idea or have an idea to do something, go back to school, do whatever, and parents kind of shit on it. And, oh, that's a terrible idea. You can't do that. And I see what that effect does on the people around me, like the person I was talking to, that, you know, they would come up with an idea and they would hear, oh, if it was that easy, everybody would. It's like I see parents that do that, and I see the horrible effects that it has once you're my age. My parents were never like that, just for the record. But if your kids have come up, I mean, we've talked to one of your kids, and I think it's going to actually, that episode's going to come out after yours, so they'll understand after. But, you know, if somebody all of a sudden wants to move across the country and don't really have a plan, but we're going to figure it out.
Sometimes that's a plan.
Sometimes that's the plan. And just you have to be supportive for your kids.
Fail forward fast, you know, just keep failing forward.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we all see so many people that if you have your own independent business, people look at you sometimes with a little bit of jealousy, but and they have ideas for business, but they don't have enough passion, or they're too afraid to try. And if you have children, and some people might discourage their children from going down an entrepreneurial path because it's a rough road, but they're, I'm sure, trying to protect them. And parenting beyond the need of parenting. If you got a kid in their 20s and they want to do something and take a chance, that's the time to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what you said, the fear. And I think they're basically just passing that fear on. Like, they were afraid to make that decision in their life.
Right.
So now they're passing that fear on.
And you see so many, there's more businesses that don't get started because of that scenario than do get started. And even the ones that do get started, most of them fail because there's one of those pieces of the puzzle missing, that either the passion or the ability or finances, a lot of different reasons. But I've never been one to discourage. I mean, Gina could come to me with an oddball business, but she has. She's been very successful. And Sarah, I mean, she's an entrepreneur as well. She, during COVID, made $20,000 making masks from her house on a sewing machine. So I would never believe that you could make that kind of money selling a $2 mask, but she did it, you know. And my other children, they're all go-getters as well. Natalie and Gregory. They're not as entrepreneurial, but I think they could be if they wanted to. So,
well, Natalie is marrying Greg, right?
Natalie's engaged to Greg,
right?
And
so she'll get to see.
Greg checks in on that every day, I'm sure, because you know, he every day he gets up and he's still in the house or whatever. He's still in the house. He's considering that a blessing. So, you know, they have a unique relationship. They're childhood sweethearts as well. I think that they went down different paths for a while, and now they've reunited. And I think they have the right thing in mind for their future together. And when that's going to be, as far as a marriage, it could be next week or it could be 20 years from now. You never know. And Natalie is, when she's ready and they get married that given day, then they'll get married that given day. Greg, he'll probably do it. He's ready to go any minute now, I'm sure. But,
lock that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It only took him getting shot 6 times to make that work.
Yeah. I was there I was coming home from the Giant Eagle on a Sunday, and after church I went to the Giant Eagle. I'm driving down the boulevard, and I see all the flashing lights on the, you know, in front of the Oaks Theater there, and it's right around the corner from my house. So I park and I go up, see what's going on, and I see Greg laying in the street with his clothes ripped off. I said, "What the hell happened to you? Did you get hit by a car or something?" He goes, "No, Mr. Saxon, I got shot." And I'm like, "What do you mean shot?" He just points to the holes on his body, and there's a paramedic there working with him. And I'm like, whatever. So he's on the phone, and around the corner comes Natalie, and then comes Gina, and then comes Gregory and Sarah and my wife. We're all, the Greg's in the street, and they're all right there that quickly. And I remember talking to Greg's mother, I believe it was, and she said, "Why did you call?" Because he called Natalie from the street. And his line, which is probably the best pickup line ever, is, "I didn't want to die in anybody else's arms."
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
So he's pretty good one line. And he said if he knew Natalie would be back to him if he got shot 6 times, he would have done it a lot earlier. No, but Greg's he's going to be, he's very welcome into the family. He's got a great family. His mother and father and all his brothers and everybody are really, really.
Greg's, that was a good episode. We had him on, and he was talking about you being there. And
yeah, he said, well, before they take, "Mr. Saxon, can you let the girl out of the cooler, please?" I mean, sure, Greg.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Well,
This will tie to a future episode, but I guess take us behind the scenes of the whole Montana discussion. You've obviously been supportive of your children. So, how did that?
Well, I think support of my children. I think my wife as well is just as supportive, but it also goes back to my mother. My mother has always been a very supportive person when it comes to going after your dreams. Obviously, she stayed married to my father when he bought a company and they had no mortgage payment 3 months out, and he had 4 kids at home. So she was supportive. Gina always she liked the West. She liked Wyoming, and she dragged me out to Wyoming just to go out there and walk around some Lake Leanne or something like that. And we did that. And she always told my mother she wanted to marry a cowboy. She wanted to get married to a cowboy. And my mother would give her the books about cowboys and everything. And she said to Gina, she says, "You want to marry a cowboy? Go get a cowboy." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is great encouragement, Mom." So we started Momentum Ventures. Gina started it with me. And the idea was she was going to sell and I was going to, manage the welders out there in the field doing the work. And we got 2 trucks. We invested everything and we went out in sales calls. And within the first 3 months, this Kofor kid comes up, that's living in an Airstream, and she's gonna, go move out to Montana with him. And I'm like, this is great. So it was nice. Mr. Kofor is a great guy. He comes from a similar family background as far as family is most important, and they're very close. And they accepted Gina hand over foot. It's just no problem at all there. But and so Gina moves to Montana, and I'm like, it's a little hard to sell welding work in Virginia from Montana. So I realized she did the right thing, and they ended up getting married. And now they have the Kofor Hat Company, which is great. I recently lost 20 pounds on the special diet. I eat only Fox's Pizza 3 days a week, or 3 times a day. And they have they are the best pizza shop on Allegheny River Boulevard in the 500 block, 400 block. But and also there's Liberty Welding. I don't want to let that go unsaid. These free points if you ever need your car welded on or anything fabricated, that TJ Ferrari or Bill Ferrari, Liberty Welding on Washington Boulevard are great places to go. So we got those plugs in, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We got them in.
Okay. Did I miss any plugs?
I don't think so.
The truck that you drove, I remember because I used to live on Virginia right by the cigar shop. What was that? The truck that was logoed up, the white truck with
Momentum Ventures.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, okay. Momentum Ventures. That's the present business that we have. And
do you still have both trucks?
Still have both trucks. We this month we're on our way to a record month again. So record months are always exciting.
That's so fun.
But they're always followed by your record low months. Yeah. Unfortunately,
we were talking about family, and I closed for a week in February, because I can't not spend time with my family. Mm-hmm. And the first year we did it, I was like, oh, well, this is going to be terrible. You're going to lose all this money. And then we came back and our customers just waited. So we had this record February, and now we're trying to maintain that this year, and I'm like, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah,
no.
like we're not even close.
I just close every other month. That's it.
Just every other week, just shut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch businesses grow. I think that if you have that nature in you and that excites you, then you'll be fine in business because you'll do whatever you got to do to like make the next month better. You know,
that's the biggest thing I enjoy about my business. It's not watching my business grow; it's watching my clients' businesses grow. To come up with, I have a client that back in 2015, he was working for a company making remanufacturing torque converters for automatic transmissions. And I met with him and 2 other guys, and they all got laid off because they shut the plant down. And their decision wasn't like, well, I guess we're going to retire or find another job. They were like, they're leaving a big empty spot in this region because they were the company in this region. And the plan was that company was shutting down the Pittsburgh operation and they were going to service Pittsburgh from Tennessee. And he's like, that's not going to work. So these 3 guys put their minds together and started a company, and now they're doing $2 million a year worth of torque converters, and they have 15 employees and a facility in Penn Hills, and it's been fun to watch it. That's my favorite part of this business is watching and having a hand in the birth and growth of these companies. So much fun.
Yeah, I think when I was bugging you about that the loan process, and you were like, don't worry about it. He was like, I actually like this stuff.
Yeah, this is the part. Yeah. Sorry I'm bothering you. I'm like, no, this is the fun part of this business.
Yeah. The day-to-day P&L is not so exciting.
Yeah, no. Reconciling bank statements is not part of my what I love to do. Part of what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I'm more into business development and things like that. That's my bread. That's what I like.
What's your favorite part of business?
Oh boy, it's a good question. I guess. My favorite feeling is when I've helped somebody. Your customer's paying you to be there, but it's like an achievement. It's like a sense of accomplishment. So, recently I did a job where I went a little farther out of my territory into North Carolina, and it was a logging company, and the logging company was a truck, and it's one guy, and he had a need for my service. He said somebody else recommended me, and I said, since you got the recommendation, I'll go out of my territory. And you go down there, and you're driving an hour, and you haven't passed the gas station. When you get to this guy's house in the middle of nowhere, where they do all this logging, I guess, in North Carolina, and he's pulling his driveway, go around behind his barn, and he's got his truck there, and he's got his house where he lives, and his wife who does the books, and his daughter who comes back with the babies, and there's like a little farm, but it's not a real fancy farm. It's just a nice farm. And you realize that all those people there are dependent on that truck running so he can bring money in to support all of them. And you're able to help them. And, you're like, wow, this is really a good thing. I gave a discounted price for where I was. I should have been charging them an extra $200 or $300 that I didn't. And you complete the job, and they're so thankful that you got their business back up and operating. And that's where their true reward is. I probably drove an extra 3 hours than I would from anybody else. So it's just a sense of accomplishment, I think. The financial part, it usually follows. Whatever your reward mechanism is. Mine is a sense of accomplishment. And as you have these senses of accomplishment, if you're a list worker, meaning I make a list every night before I go to bed, and I check off that list during the day. And it's a beautiful thing. And you do that list, and you do another list, and next thing you know, you got some money in the bank. So it's I'd say a sense of accomplishment is that feeling is good for me. It's rewarding.
Money's the tool, but we go back to passion, God's balls to do it. It'll come.
Yeah. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would have completed 150 tractor trailer axle repairs, I'd say you're crazy. But I have, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
What's next? I know you started this other venture, but 5-10 years, are you going fishing at some point? Or
yeah,
you know,
I think what's next. I'm going to we'll be 60 this year.
Okay.
My wife and I were born on the same day, the same hospital, and
oh, wow.
Our parents were actually roommates, so we had to get married. And I'm also a sacrist at St. Irenaeus, and I'll tell you this story. I don't know where I'm probably going to get way off course, but they have these gluten-free hosts for communion. And if you're the sacristan, you got to manage that. So people come back to the sacristy and they say, I need a gluten-free host. Need a gluten-free. I said, okay. Well, I had 3 requests for one mass, and then there's only one gluten-free host left. And I'm waiting for the priest. Priest shows up 5 minutes beforehand. This young guy, Levi, St. Irenaeus, and he comes back in. I says, Father, we got a problem. He goes, what's the problem? I says, I need 3 gluten-free hosts. We have 1. He says, I'll break it in 3. I says, you're a genius. So the day my wife and I were born, I believe that they were looking at souls, and we have some souls, and we're like, oh, shit, we're down to 1 soul. We got 2 kids here being born. They split our souls. So I got half, she got half. That's why I'm right-handed, she's left-handed. So I tell her that we're going to, when I do pass, whenever that is, hopefully not in the near future, but she's going to have to come with me. I don't know if I can keep the soul separated for that long. But what's next for me, I think, is I'm sure that there'll be more grandchildren coming, and on the short horizon, I'd say 5 years out is just to be able to just jump in the car with my wife and drive to Montana or North Carolina or wherever Gina and Gregory will be, and go visit for a week or 2 at a time and come back and spend more time running around like that. Because it's one thing when you have a business, and you say when you're a business owner, you're working 24 hours a day. I have my phone sitting right over there. I'm off today, but in the back of my head, that phone can ring and I need to get up and take care of that customer. So I want to get away from that eventually, and just chill.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Put in your time.
Yeah.
So if anybody has a broken axle spindle,
Yeah.
what do they call?
Well, if you're in western Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, or West Virginia, you'd call TJ Ferrari at Liberty Welding. And if you're in Virginia, you'd call me. But I'd rather that you get yourself a pizza from Fox's Pizza while you're wearing your Gopher cowboy hat. So I'm not looking for business. I think that everything I have set up in my line of work, in my business area, is at the right speed and the right level I want it to be. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I'm not there. I think being overwhelmed, it would be harder to find the transition comfortably. So, and I want to do it right. I don't want to have to short a customer.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than I get excited when I get a call for a job and I'm driving to that job and then the phone rings again. Oh my God, I got a customer that I'm going to have to delay by 3 hours before I can respond, and you just have a feeling of guilt. And wait a minute, it's okay. That's a good thing. You're supposed to be backlogged.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Anything else? I think that was a good one.
Yeah. Appreciate sitting down with you. It's I think we're all kind of shooting for what you got type of thing. Seem like a patriarch and successful life.
Well, it's
family
it's just life. That's all. I enjoy what I do. You got to enjoy yourself for who you are and what you have. And I got to. My biggest achievement, I think, ever is my beautiful family, my wife, my children, and having time with them. They sacrificed time with me over the years, and I'd like to have them want me to be hanging around and spending time with them in the future where I couldn't in the past. Yeah, and but I think it's important to just appreciate everybody around you at all times, and you never know when they're going to be there to help you. And if you can reach out to help them, it's always a good thing. So,
Yeah. Well, I said a minute. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to people that are where we want to be someday. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you sitting down with us.
Yeah. Thanks,
all
Greg.
right, all right
Thanks,
guys.
man.
Thanks for having me. Nice talking with you.
Another episode of Between Two Bridges.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes, we still call it Twitter. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.